The hotel lobby froze in a single, terrible moment. The crowd of men in leather vests, each carrying years of road dust in their eyes, watched in disbelief as steaming coffee splashed across the face of the biggest, quietest biker among them. The cup slipped from the businessman's hand and shattered on the polished floor, but it was nothing compared to the shattering of the thin line of respect that had held the room together until that second. That single act, careless, arrogant, and cruel, would change the fate of everyone standing there. And within minutes, the same rich man would be on his knees, trembling, begging for mercy from the very man he had just attacked. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly helps keep these meaningful stories alive. The biker's name was Mason, though everyone called him Bear. He was a mountain of a man, not just in size, but in the way he carried years of pain and quiet resilience. His club, Iron Riders, stood behind him not as a gang, but as a brotherhood built through survival, loyalty, and promises no one else had ever given them. They had come to the hotel seeking something simple: a chance to collaborate with a charity foundation hosting a veterans fundraiser. Nothing more than an opportunity to contribute, to be seen as human beings trying to do better. But then the rich man arrived. His name was Charles Whitmore, a corporate powerhouse whose wealth insulated him from reality. He didn't see the scars of service on the bikers, didn't see the tattoos that marked brotherhood and grief, didn't see men who had lived through things money could never shield him from. He saw only stereotypes, and in his world, stereotypes were disposable. The moment he insulted them loudly, publicly, and with a careless confidence that only deep privilege can produce the tension in the room sharpened like a blade. Then came the coffee. Mason didn't scream. He didn't raise a hand. He didn't move. He simply stood there as the burning liquid slid down his cheek, and the smell of scorched skin filled the air. His brothers took a step forward instinctively, but Mason lifted one hand, slightly a silent command to stay back. That small gesture, calm and steady, was somehow more terrifying than any threat, because nothing is more dangerous than a good man being pushed past his limit. Charles's smirk faltered. The hotel manager hurried over, trembling, trying to defuse a situation he realized was spiraling out of control. But it was too late. The wound had been inflicted, not just physically, but emotionally. And the worst part was that Charles still didn't understand the weight of what he'd done. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding, instead of delivering the violence everyone assumed was coming, Mason slowly removed his vest. His hands were steady, but his voice, when he finally spoke, carried the weight of 1,000 silent battles. He talked not about anger, but about the years he had spent serving his country, the friends he had buried, the nights he had woken up screaming, and the long road he had taken to rebuild himself. He explained how the Iron Riders had saved him, how every man behind him had walked through fire and found healing in brotherhood. He told Charles that some people wear suits and hide their cruelty behind wealth, but others wear leather and hide their goodness behind scars. The room grew painfully quiet, and in that silence, something inside Charles cracked. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was shame, maybe it was the realization that he had mistaken gentleness for weakness and judged men without ever truly seeing them. Whatever it was, the arrogance drained out of his face, replaced with fear, then regret, then something deeper, recognition. His knees buckled slightly. He reached out to steady himself, but no one moved to help him. Everyone was watching, waiting, listening. The man who had moments ago mocked, insulted, and assaulted another human being suddenly seemed unbearably small. Then, in a voice that no longer carried power, Charles whispered an apology. When Mason didn't respond, he whispered another and another. Soon he was begging not out of fear for his safety, but out of fear for the weight of his own actions. The guilt was crushing him from the inside. Finally, Mason stepped forward. His face was still red and painfully blistered, but his eyes were calm, not with forgiveness yet, but with something even harder, restraint. He told Charles that real strength isn't about fists or money. It's about choosing to stand tall when the world gives you every reason to fall apart. He told him that people who walk through life with blind pride eventually destroy themselves, but those who learn humility create a chance for redemption. The rest of the Iron Riders stood quietly behind him, not as an angry mob, but as witnesses to a man showing extraordinary control in the face of brutal disrespect. Then Mason turned away, not because he was weak, but because he refused to let someone else's cruelty change who he was. That moment changed Charles. He didn't try to repair his reputation with excuses. Instead, he asked how he could make things right. Mason didn't ask for money, or revenge, or even forgiveness. Instead, he told him to do something far more difficult. Help someone who can't help you back. For the first time, Charles understood what true power looked like. In the weeks that followed, he quietly funded veteran rehab programs, mental health workshops, and community projects the Iron Riders supported. He didn't attach his name to any of them. It wasn't about publicity, it was about transformation. Months later, Charles attended one of the charity events again. This time, he didn't arrive with arrogance. He walked in humbly, carrying trays of food and serving veterans with sincerity. The Iron Riders noticed, Mason noticed, and slowly, a bridge that once seemed impossible began to form. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional, meaningful stories to life. Special request. Before you go, comment below one thing you believe. The world needs more of kindness, patience, empathy, or forgiveness.